history that we were all taught growing up is wrong. My name is Scott Wolter, and I'm a forensic geologist. There's a hidden history that nobody knows about. There are pyramids, chambers, tombs, inscriptions. They're all over the world. We're going to investigate these artifacts and sites, and we're going to get to the truth. Sometimes history isn't what we've been told. Americans love pirates. We're fascinated with tales of adventure and swashbuckling, and the quest for hidden treasure. As a kid, I loved learning about guys like Blackbeard and Captain Kidd. To me, pirates were our original gangsters. I just got an amazing tip on what might be the best pirate story of all time. The story starts here in Boston, where Captain Kidd was imprisoned back in 1699. Before he found himself behind bars, Captain Kidd made his fortune during the golden age of piracy, which lasted from 1690 to 1730. Surprisingly, Kidd started out as a good guy. He was a Scottish sailor who earned his keep as a privateer working for the crown, before turning criminal and becoming the legendary pirate we all know today. Once a pirate, he never looked back. Kidd plundered his way around the Upper East Coast, reportedly amassing millions of dollars before being punished for his crimes. But his famous treasure was never recovered. Because his fortune was built on brutality, some say the treasure itself is badly cursed. I'd like to be the judge of that. My tipster is meeting me here with a clue that could not only reveal the whereabouts of Captain Kidd's missing fortune, but something even more riveting. Turns out there's another character to this tale. A person who was once the richest man in America. His name is John Jacob Astor. Bill, how you doing?
Good to meet you.
Yeah. I'm guessing you wanted to meet here because this was an important place in Captain Kidd's life. But I gotta believe it looked a lot different in his day, didn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Most of what you see here doesn't date back much more than 100 years. On the spot where this building now stands was the old jail.
Okay.
This was the principal lockup until 1822 when it was torn down. And this is where Captain Kidd was brought and put in solitary confinement when he returned to Boston after his privateering mission.
So what did he do to get himself in trouble?
Well, Captain Kidd had been engaged by a consortium of wealthy backers, some very powerful lords in England. They were all partners in a privateering mission that Kidd was supposed to lead, and they were all going to share in the profits.
So I have to believe that the crew he had was pretty salty, to say the least. How did he keep all these guys under control?
Well, he really didn't keep them all under control. When you comb through the waterfront taverns and dives and pick up a crew, these guys are unruly and hard to control, and they're not getting paid by the hour. They're getting paid by the share. So if they don't capture ships, they don't make any money. So they kind of push you to borderline operations.
How did he end up in jail here?
Well, he knew that there were rumors going around that he was an out-and-out pirate. He wanted to come back and clear his name. One of his backers was Lord Bellamont, and he was in Massachusetts at the time. So Kidd felt, well, if I report in, explain myself, everything will be clear. Instead, Bellamont, who didn't want to be embarrassed by association with this guy who everybody believed by now was a pirate, threw him in irons, put him in this jail that stood right here.
Okay, so it was probably more a political move than it was a move to bring justice, right?
What had happened was that Kidd had become an embarrassment for his wealthy and influential backers, and they wanted to shut him up, get him out of the way.
By the time they put Kidd away, he had already amassed the treasure we're still searching for today. As a privateer, he was making money for wealthy people like Bellamont. But when he put on his pirate hat, he was making money only for himself and his men. In 1698, desperate for loot, Kidd spotted a 500-ton Armenian ship carrying a treasure trove of riches that he couldn't resist. The question I have is, did he take the secret of where he hid those riches to his grave? I know that he died shortly after, right?
He was in solitary here. He was put on a British Navy ship, brought to London, where he was again put in solitary in the old Newgate prison, which is a place you wouldn't want to be for 2 days, let alone the better part of a year.
Ooh.
Eventually put on trial not only on counts of piracy, but on account of murder.
In 1697, Kidd was said to have killed his crewman William Moore by hitting him in the head with a bucket after a disagreement. Moore suffered a fractured skull and died the next day. Okay, so let's talk for a second about Captain Kidd's treasure. There's all kinds of legends and stories about treasure being hidden all up and down the eastern seaboard of North America. What do we know about that?
Well, we know that Captain Kidd had some treasure with him when he was arrested and that it was eventually confiscated. But he had been out in the Indian Ocean for over a year, and they had captured several ships, some of which were carrying quite a bit of treasure. So it's pretty easy to surmise that some of this was either buried by Kidd himself or by some of his men. Although I should point out that it wasn't the common practice of pirates to bury treasure. They generally burned it all on rum and women in whatever port they could land in and find the local taverns and bordellos.
Well, that makes some sense. But let's just say that there is treasure out there, or there was treasure out there. What about this rumor that the richest man in America at the time, John Jacob Astor, came into some of his wealth from Captain Kidd's treasure? John Jacob Astor was America's first millionaire. A successful real estate tycoon, he left a lasting legacy. The famed Waldorf Astoria in Manhattan was named after him, as well as his hometown of Waldorf, Germany. But a rumor has circulated for more than a century that some of the money that helped him morph into an American icon was none other than Captain Kidd's. In 1801, Astor's Manhattan bank account supposedly shot up to $500,000 from just $4,000 after striking a deal with a French fur trader who supposedly came upon Kidd's pirate chest while trapping. I want to know the truth.
We know that John Jacob Astor started out poor and ended phenomenally wealthy. When he died in 1848, he was worth the unheard of sum of $20 million, which has been estimated to be well over $100 billion in today's money.
$100 billion?
$100 billion. So he would have been richer than Warren Buffett or Bill Gates.
Sure.
Now, we know he started small. He got into the fur trade when he first came here, and he did very well at it. That was the foundation of his fortune. Whether or not his net worth mysteriously and suddenly bumped up early in his career is what's at issue.
So we know John Jacob Astor made the bulk of his fortune in the fur trading business and real estate, but do you think Captain Kidd's treasure could have been part of that?
Well, Scott, that's where this clue might come in.
What is this?
I was hoping you could tell me.
What is this?
I was hoping you could tell me.
Bill, let me see if I have this straight. This sequence of numbers you're saying ties Captain Kidd's treasure with John Jacob Astor, one of the richest men of all time?
Well, the story has it that this sequence of numbers was on a paper that Kidd handed to his wife.
So Captain Kidd gave this sequence of numbers to his wife. How does this all tie back to John Jacob Astor?
Well, supposedly this could be a clue as to the location of Kidd's treasure. Now, the question is whether or not Astor or someone working on his behalf found the treasure.
So, Bill, what I want to know is how does this all connect with John Jacob Astor? I mean, we know that he became very wealthy through the fur trading business. Are you suggesting that he may also have gotten a hold of Captain Kidd's treasure?
Well, there were stories that went around to the effect that John Jacob Astor's bank account took a sudden and dramatic jump fairly early in his career. This leads to the question of where did he get the money? Supposedly, Captain Kidd's treasure was phenomenally lucrative. It was said to be 20 bars of gold, and the quote was Riksdaler's manifold.
Riksdalers, what are those?
Well, that was a currency that was in use in Europe at the time.
Okay. We're talking about a lot of money, right?
Manifold meaning a great deal.
Okay. So this note with these numbers was passed on to his wife, correct?
441-06818.
So what do you think these numbers mean?
I'm not really sure.
A series of numbers scribbled on scrap paper could mean just about anything. They could be a combination to kids' treasure chest or important dates in kids' life. But a part of me also thinks it could point us in a much more specific direction. Well, you know, when I look at this, I see something that I recognize. 44, I bet, is a latitude. And if that's a latitude, I bet the last four numbers are probably a longitude.
Makes sense.
Let me pull out my phone here. I'm gonna plug these numbers in. Deer Isle, does that mean anything to you?
Well, there is an island by that name off the coast of Maine.
Since Captain Kidd sailed all over the Atlantic, a stop in Maine wouldn't be out of the question. In fact, some treasure hunters believe Kidd stashed away hordes of loot around Maine. It's also possible that John Jacob Astor expanded his fur business into Maine as he looked for more opportunities. Well, if Captain Kidd gave these numbers to his wife, and this is a latitude and longitude, maybe that treasure is still there.
It's worth a look.
Bill and I think we have the coordinates to what could be the exact location where Kidd left his treasure. But the question is, did a fur trader already find it there and give it to John Jacob Astor as part of some sort of deal? The Astors might know, but tracking one down and getting them to talk to us about it wasn't easy. After doing some digging, I found a descendant willing to meet with us at one of the Astors' original summer homes. But can I convince her to reveal what could be an explosive family secret? Alexandra?
Hello.
Scott Wolter.
Hi, I'm Alexandra Aldrich. Welcome to Rokeby.
Well, this is a beautiful estate. The grounds are lovely. This house, I mean, how big of an area is this, and when was this house built?
Well, this is a 450-acre estate located in the Hudson Valley of New York. It was originally part of a land grant from King James II to my ancestor Robert Livingston. The house itself is a 43-room mansion that was built in 1815 by a man named John Armstrong, who was a general in the War of 1812 and my direct ancestor.
Now, Alexandra, what is your connection with the Astor family?
Well, John Jacob Astor was my great-great-great-great-great-grandfather. That's 5 greats. And his son, William Bacchus Astor, married into the Livingston family, and Rokeby became his primary residence in the mid-19th century.
Well, as beautiful as it is out here, I bet it's even more interesting inside, right?
Music has always played a prominent role in our family, and my great-grandparents played duets on these 2 Steinway grands. In fact, my great-grandfather, Richard Aldrich, was a prominent music critic for the New York Times.
Well, John Jacob Astor himself, although he was not an educated man, loved music and the performing arts. He liked nothing better than an evening musicale at his home in New York City. And in fact, he owned one of the prominent theaters in New York in the early 1800s.
That's correct.
You know, Alexandra, one of the reasons that we're here is there's an old story about the Astor family coming into some of its money through Captain Kidd's treasure. Does that ring any bells for you? You know, Alexandra, one of the reasons that we're here is there's an old story about the Astor family coming into some of its money through Captain Kidd's treasure. Does that ring any bells for you?
Well, if there is any treasure, I haven't seen a speck of it.
If I found pirate treasure, I know I'd never have to work again. My kids might not have to work again, and their kids might not have to work again. But as I was about to learn, living life as an Astor wasn't what I imagined. Tell me, what was it like to grow up in the Astor family here at this house?
I lived a double life because on the one hand, I grew up in what was essentially a house museum. The house is on the registry for historic places. So that meant that historical societies visited us very frequently. I was often part of the tour. But on the other hand, my parents and I lived on the third floor in the old servants' quarters. My father was not only one of the owners, but the de facto maintenance man, because the money had basically run out to maintain the property.
So what happened to the money? I mean, John Jacob Astor was the one who basically made the family fortune in the fur trade, right?
That's right.
So what happened after that?
Well, his son, William, was a prudent businessman, and it is said of him that he never made a penny and never lost a penny. So he inherited this massive fortune. He became the richest man in America after his father died. So that when my great-grandmother's generation came along, she and her siblings inherited the third largest portion of the Astor fortune.
Okay, and what happened then?
Well, she lived to be almost 100. She never knew how to work, so she lived on her money.
So that ate up a lot of that wealth that she inherited.
That's right. So when she died in 1963, she basically left the property to the family without the money to maintain it.
So you were part of the next generation, right? What did you guys do?
When I was growing up, it seemed that everyone was living in the past and nobody really attended to the needs of the present, including the needs of the children. So there was a tremendous amount of neglect. But on the other hand, it's such a source of pride, and my family would never give up this property because then they would lose their identity, because this is who they are.
If John Jacob Astor did strike it rich thanks to Captain Kidd's treasure, it seems all the good luck has now faded away. Who knows? Maybe there's some truth to this cursed treasure after all. Tragedy has found the Astors more than once. Astor's grandson, John Jacob Astor III, went down on the Titanic when he was worth about $150 million. And another prominent Astor relative injured her head falling down a grand staircase that left her with dementia until her final days. Maybe it just proves that rich people suffer bad luck too. Well, I appreciate you being so candid about your family's history. And, you know, just looking around here, I can imagine all of the interesting and important people that have been inside this house and have followed in the footsteps of your ancestors. I mean, it's really incredible. But to your knowledge, is there anything that might connect with Captain Kidd's treasure to your family fortune?
Not that I know of.
Is it possible that maybe some people might have been jealous of the Astor wealth and created this story?
It's a definite possibility.
Well, if there's one thing I've learned in these stories and myths is that there's always some truth to them. So if there isn't a connection here, that means I have to keep looking. While I came up empty at the Astor estate, I still believe there's some truth to this legend. Maybe the treasure's still out there. I need to go back to my only real evidence, the piece of paper Kidd gave to his wife. My hunch is these numbers represent coordinates that point to Deer Isle, Maine. With so many small islands and inlets, Maine has thousands of potential hiding places. There's something alluring about the ghostly open waters, rocky shores, and gloomy fog rolling out to sea. I wouldn't be surprised if Captain Kidd did choose this spot to leave his rumored fortune.
Scott, we're heading out of Stonington Harbor. Stonington is the busiest lobster port in the United States. When you think of Stonington, you think of lobsters.
Well, speaking of lobsters, we got awful lucky hitching a ride on this boat. It's the off season. Can you imagine what it would have been like if we were here during high season?
Oh, no chance. And, you know, a lot of people head out on boats here looking for more than lobsters. There's been treasure hunters up and down this coast for years.
So where do you think a pirate like Captain Kidd would bury his treasure?
Well, of course, the most famous treasure story in this part of the world is on the other side of the Gulf of Maine, Oak Island in Nova Scotia.
I know Oak Island very well. Oak Island has been the site for hardcore treasure hunting for over 200 years. It's rumored that Kidd may have hid some treasure there, but so far, nothing's been recovered. I've even looked for treasure there myself, but no luck. If Captain Kidd's treasure is not on Oak Island, where would it be in this area?
Well, when you talk about Captain Kidd, you're looking into so many different treasure stories that he'd have to have lived to be 100 years old to have buried treasure every place they say he did. Specifically, along this stretch of coast, there are a couple of pirate stories. One has to do with a character named Dixie Bull, who was a small-time operator in the early 1600s. And then later on in the 1700s, you had a somewhat more famous character named Black Sam Bellamy, captain of the Whydah. The Whydah was found, by the way, off Cape Cod. It wrecked there, drowning Captain Bellamy and his crew just a few months after he set up shop here as a repair base for his ship.
So this whole treasure business, it's pretty dangerous, isn't it?
It was dangerous being a pirate, and sometimes I guess it could be dangerous looking for whatever they might have left.
Hey, wait a minute. Who's this? How you doing?
Hi. You Scott Wolter?
Yes, sir.
I hear you might be looking for Captain Kidd's treasure.
Yeah, we are.
I might be able to help you.
I'm in Maine hunting down Captain Kidd's treasure. It's believed he has precious loot hidden along the coast, but so far, nothing has turned up. I found an Astor relative willing to speak with me about treasure, but come to find out, she never heard of Kidd's treasure. While I haven't seen any pirate treasure yet, I know there's some out there. Huge stashes have been found before. Off the coast of Cape Cod, more than $10 million worth of artifacts was recovered from the Whydah ship that sank back in 1717. Some of it included gold coins. If Kidd's treasure even comes close to that, it'd be a huge discovery. But where is it? Hey, wait a minute. Who's this? How you doing?
Hi. You Scott Wolter?
Yes, sir.
I hear you might be looking for Captain Kidd's treasure.
Yeah, we are.
I might be able to help you. Why don't you come with me and we'll find a place to dock and we can talk some more.
I don't know who this boat captain is, but he must have something important to say if he's tracking us down on the water, fog and all. At least I can tell he's leading us in the right direction to Deer Isle, Maine, the location to where Captain Kidd's coordinates lead to. So who are you and how did you find us?
It's a very small island, and I heard you were doing some treasure hunting. I'm Walt Reed. I'm a charter captain here on Deer Isle.
Okay, well, are we in the right area? What do you know about it?
Well, there's been a long-standing myth that Captain Kidd buried treasure here on Deer Isle.
It's a myth. Wait a minute. What about this?
What's that?
The supposed secret code that Captain Kidd was said to have passed along to his wife before he was taken away for trial. 4410-6818, supposedly the latitude and longitude coordinates of this island.
And that's absolutely true. Those are the latitude and longitude coordinates for this island, and it was part of the myth.
So this whole thing is a story. Well, what about the connection with the Astor family? Is this part of this story?
It's part of the myth as well, yes. The myth has it that John Jacob Astor had a trapper here on Deer Isle who found the cave where Captain Kidd had buried his treasure and took the treasure chest to New York, where the Astor family opened it, found the jewels, and got their seed money for the rest of their fortune.
In the beginning, the Astor fortune was worth between $20 to $30 million, and it allegedly dried up over the years, according to Alexandra, one of Astor's descendants. Whether that money came from Kidd and whether his treasure chest was found here on Deer Isle, we may never know. Or will we? A local skipper tells me it's all a myth. It's amazing how some of these stories can just grow on their own and become truth to many people.
It's a great story. It stays alive for many years. Many people have come to look for it, and no one's ever found anything.
So did Captain Kidd leave a treasure buried anywhere?
There's no treasure here, but there may be a treasure somewhere else.
Is this Captain Kidd's treasure chest? Is this Captain Kidd's treasure chest?
Could be.
So where is this pirate chest?
Well, it's not here. It's in St. Augustine, Florida.
This is a case of cryptic clues. And even though I asked, Walt wouldn't tell me any more about how Kidd's chest ended up down south when he was a pirate up here in the Northeast. Here's what I know so far. Before Captain Kidd was put to the gallows, he secretly handed his wife a set of numbers that were supposedly a clue to the whereabouts of the treasure he left behind. First, I thought the numbers could have been a code to unlock a chest, but the combination lock wasn't invented until the 1860s, so that was a dead end. All I know is I need answers, but all I have are questions. While at the airport, I did some research to figure out exactly where in St. Augustine to go. I discovered there's another millionaire who figures into this mystery. A man here named Pat Croce, who was once the owner of the 76ers basketball team and who seems to be the guy who has Kidd's chest. I want to see just how much treasure this guy has. Pat, how you doing, man?
Scott, I'm doing great. Welcome to my pirate museum. Now, how can I help you?
Well, I'd love to talk about basketball. I know you like that. But actually, I'm here. I'm looking for Captain Kidd's treasure. Heard you might know something about it.
Come right with me.
All right.
So, Scott, you wanted Captain Kidd? Here's Captain Kidd. That's Captain Kidd's personal treasure chest, Scott.
Okay. When I hear Captain Kidd's treasure, I'm thinking of heaps of silver and gold coins, satins, sugar, muslins, and other valuable goods spilling out of a treasure chest. But I never thought about it looking like this.
That's over 300 years old. So yes, you're gonna have to put on your gloves.
I know already if I'm gonna get access,
You're the only one who has unique access. We usually keep this under lock and key, security, armed guard. These things don't get out in the public.
I really appreciate this opportunity. I know how valuable these things are, not just to you, but to everybody, because these are important historical artifacts. But I have to ask you, what tells you that this was Captain Kidd's chest?
First and foremost, his name is on the front. If you look at the lock,
All right,
you'll see a William Kidd, Leith, Scotland.
Okay.
Yes, now anyone could put a brace like that on it, but then when you look inside, see the coin in the back? It gives it a little more dimension.
Okay.
That's a King Charles II coin, which happens to be in the era of like 1660 to 1685, somewhere around there, which the whole chest is wallpapered with remnants of the British Britannica.
Now you got to remember something, and I'm sure that you thought about this. The coin has to make sense in context with the time of Captain Kidd and his adventures, and the coin does seem to make sense.
It's
Certainly,
earlier than him.
If it was later, we got a problem.
Big
right?
problem.
And the paper has to match date-wise.
And now go down into the treasure chest and you'll see there's a fake false bottom.
Yes, about an inch. So there was a piece of wood that was over here, and he had, must have been documents or maybe some coins or currency.
Or evidence, or whatever.
Okay, and the wood itself and the construction. I mean, I'm not an expert on period wood boxes like this, but it sure looks authentic to me.
So I love having you in our museum because now you get to see some of the artifacts that validate Captain Kidd as a pirate.
Well, and they also bring him to life. Who was this guy? And this whole discussion about treasure. You know, I'm sure a lot of people would say, well, to me, treasure is this box filled with gold and silver. But quite frankly, to me, some of the most incredible treasure I've ever seen were long lost documents, letters that people had never seen that show up. And to me, that's gold.
Well, then I have some gold for you.
The further I get into this mystery, the more I wonder, what's the real treasure here? If it's not a cache of gold and silver, maybe it's something else. Kidd was no ordinary pirate. He was a celebrity of his time, and some believe a patsy, since he was set up by the people who hired him. Maybe the real treasure is uncovering the truth about who Captain Kidd really was.
I think this journal will be gold to you because this is a journal by a Lieutenant Longish.
Okay.
It's dated October 24th,
1699.
1699. What makes it famous is if you open it up, there's several sections in it, but let's look, yeah, right there, where your finger is.
Okay.
If you can read that third line from the bottom,
This day we received
Look at these next two words.
Captain Kidd.
Look at that. I can just see that popping up. And three more on board as our prisoners.
And what's interesting is there's nothing that's elevated about it. It's not like its own page. It's just another entry. This guy was doing his job, and to me that reflects authenticity. Obviously it did to you.
Without a doubt. And throughout it, you'll see they gave him a little more honor. They put him separate than the other prisoners. And you'll see that in the journal. But I just think it's fabulous that here we have a document, gold in your world,
Right.
that's over 300 years old, that demonstrates Captain Kidd's last voyage. This famous merchantman, privateer, pirate, now he's a prisoner.
How about this document here?
These are all the remnants of exactly what happened at trial of Captain Kidd. As you see, the murder and piracy,
Right.
6 indictments. He had 5 indictments for piracy, 1 for murder. He's the only pirate, maybe the only man we know, who had 6 indictments and was hung 3 times.
Kidd may have been a ruthless pirate, but to be hanged 3 times sounds excessive.
On May 23rd, 1701, execution dock in England. He's walked up the gallows scaffold. They put the rope around his neck. The trapdoor drops. His neck doesn't break, the rope breaks. He falls down. Everyone's cheering. 200,000 people are hoping Kidd says where he helped bury his treasure. They're cheering because the pirate's still living. They walk him back up the gallows again, put the rope around his neck, hang him till dead. They let him down, untie the rope, they take him into a back of a vessel, a barn, they tar him to preserve the flesh. They put him in chains, they take him to Tilbury Point in the Thames estuary. They hang him again from a gibbet as a warning to all other pirates.
And he swung in the wind while his body decomposed.
For years.
Sending a message to people, this is what we do to pirates.
We know Captain William Kidd is a pirate. We think he's the ultimate pirate. No, his name is the ultimate pirate. Blackbeard was a better pirate. Henry Avery was a better pirate. But he has the notoriety because of being a political scapegoat.
So, Pat, this document here basically is a flyer that was talking about the hanging of Captain Kidd?
Exactly, Scott. I'll read the last paragraph. Take warning now by me, for I must die, for I must die. Take warning now by me, for I must die. Lest you come to hell with me, for I must die, for I must die. Lest you come to hell with me, for I must die.
Wow. Well, there's the end, written in the words that everybody could see. There were 200,000 people there at his execution.
And most pirate executions were a carnival. People come out and celebrate. But for him, there was another reason. They wanted to know and hoping that he would reveal at his last moments of breath where he hid his treasure. Because we know for a fact he buried some treasure.
Well, Pat, I have to say, throughout this investigation, I've been to some amazing places where Captain Kidd was following this trail to try to find the treasure, which I think we agree some of it may have been found, but some of it is still out there yet to be discovered. But I have to say, after looking at all of this and seeing these artifacts and the fact that you are sharing these artifacts with the world, that's not lost on you. You want this story and these artifacts to continue into the future. From my perspective, Captain Kidd's treasure is right here. My search for Captain Kidd's treasure took me from the remnants of the first American millionaire's fortune to America's remote northeastern isles. After meeting up with Bill in Alexandria, I still have no proof Astor's wealth came from Captain Kidd. But investigating the link brought me to the only remaining relic of the notorious pirate's real treasure. Maybe John Jacob Astor found Captain Kidd's treasure, maybe he didn't. Either way, there's treasure. I've seen the end of 2 giants' fortunes. One, a crumbling mansion in New York, the other, a weather-beaten box in a glass case. It reminds me that legacies aren't embodied in things, but are kept alive in the spirit of adventure.